This podcast is being powered by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey y'all, welcome back to Mentally a Badass. My name is Justine, and today is going to be a solo episode. So today is going to be about my experience with therapy, which I feel like it has been all over the place, up and down, that deserves a story time. And so if you listen to my first ever episode, I think I talked about my therapist when I was 15, 16, that it wasn't too much of a help, but if not, we'll just briefly talk about that. And then I'm just gonna, just basically the point of this episode is to bring awareness of what is going on in this industry that's supposed to be, treating people who have mental illness. And my experience has been absolutely horrible, where I'm just absolutely grateful that I'm not in a position where I'm at the edge, because I feel like what I went through could push someone to the edge, and I just think it's extremely dangerous. And I just do want to bring that out and expose for it. I don't think I'm going to bring up the company. I don't know. I didn't really look up some stuff legal wise because I don't want to get sued, so I'm probably not going to bring up the company. But I am going to talk about it, and this does have to, people need to know that this is happening. Okay, so let's go back to, actually, I think what I went through as a teenager is kind of just irrelevant to what I'm going to say right now. I mean, the person that I spoke with, he just wasn't too much help. That was pretty much it. Anyway, moving on. So I went back to therapy in 2019 when I moved here to Florida once I got on full-time insurance. Oh my goodness. Full-time, I got my health insurance. And so I was like, okay, I need to get my life together. I need to go seek treatment. I got an issue. So in 2018, I went for the first time, and I don't remember my first experience with, oh wait, I actually do remember, right? Yeah. Okay. So I did see somebody for one session. I remember that. And it was a good session and such. And then I think I came across, this was so long ago, I'm sorry, it's a little fuzzy. I guess it just didn't bother me too much because clearly I can't remember it that well. But I do remember it now, in that when I went to make my second appointment and such, I think they were like, oh, that therapist doesn't even work here anymore, or something like that. I think, or just I don't know. It was just really weird. I had one session and she just disappeared off the face of the earth or whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever, just give me another therapist, I guess. And so I spoke with this lady. She was fine. And then so basically, they would send text messages for your next appointment, reminding you're going to be at this office to meet this person. So I'm like, okay, cool. And so I typically take the day off from work to go to doctor's appointments, especially since the location that was on the text message said that it was a 30 to 40 minute drive. And if you live in Florida and Orlando, 30, 40 minute drive isn't really that long, so it's not that big of a deal in my head, but I still would take off from work. So I drove that 30 to 40 minutes to get to that therapy appointment. And when I checked in, they didn't know who I was. And I said, I'm here to see this person. They're like, are you sure for this location? I'm like, yes, I am sure for this location. And then I showed them my phone. I said, this is what it says. And it's okay, well, just give us a moment. I said, okay. And then they come back. They start talking to people in the back. And then they come back and they say, hi, so this person's actually in this other location. And I'm like, okay, well, what? I mean, I don't want to be marked as a no-show. That's not really fair, since you're seeing right here that I was told to go here. And then so there's not a problem. We'll just tell the therapist that you were not able to show up, and then we can reschedule. And I said, okay, let's reschedule. So I rescheduled. I think a month later, I had to wait another month because their schedules are, there's not enough mental health professionals, and there's just so many people who need mental health treatment. I wait another month, and then it was in April of 2019. I remember I was away for the weekend at the beach, and I had an appointment that was at 1 o'clock on like a Sunday or whatever. So I had to leave early. I had to leave like a day early or whatever. And so drove all that was an hour back to Orlando, and I drove there, and I got there, and they looked at me, and they're like, "You have an appointment?" I said, "Yes." Like, "Oh, she had to cancel." I'm like, "Okay, no one informed me of this." And they're like, "Oh," and then I said, "Well, here's my number. I'm literally showing them my email, all my text messages. I'm like, I do not see anything of being told that it was being canceled." So that happened. So that was like that was like a 45-minute drive, another hour drive. That was a waste because the office failed in communicating it to the patient properly that the therapist was not showing up. So I was extremely upset because, it's hard for somebody to even try to get help. First, it's like to say you have a problem. Then it's about reaching out, reaching out to get some help, and then this happening to them. Like therapists, just disappear, and then two times of therapists standing me up. It's just I was like crying. I was so over it. I'm like I had this point where I was thinking I did not deserve help at this point. I was like, why is this happening to me? Like, do I not deserve help? So that happened, and then I think it took me. I definitely know from April to July I didn't seek help, and then I think a couple months after that, then I was getting really bad again, and I was like, okay, I need to I can't, I got over it. I need to move on and try again. Another new therapist, and he wasn't bad. I just felt like he didn't really listen to me. It's just really frustrating when switching therapists, and then you just feel like you have to keep telling your whole life story. Like, oh, it started when I was born, kind of, Squidward situation. So I, I know he's writing his notes. I know he's trying his best, but I felt like he wasn't like, I mean, he was good to, I guess, talk to, but not really as moving me along in my, mental health journey. Like, for example, I'll talk about my anxiety with him, and his advice was for me to swim in a pool, which I know works, but I kind of was hoping to go, digging deep into my trauma or something like that, and finding why I get triggered for certain things. Because my belief is that I feel like, doing meditation and swimming and exercising and eating healthy, which is very important for your mental health, but that is not the tools that's going to help you recover. I feel like what is going to help you recover is facing whatever that is in your subconscious mind that is making you act the way you act today. And so I felt like he wasn't really focusing on that. He was giving me the generic stuff that I can just Google on like WebMD, or just watch a YouTube video about it, or even stuff that I even learned when I was, in school for psychology. Then I was just like, outside. I think he meant well, like he meant well, but I just felt like I needed more. I felt like everything he kept telling me I already knew. And I think it has a lot to do with me having a college degree in psychology, is that everything he's telling me I learned already. And I'm hoping, and when you're a therapist, you need a master's. So I'm hoping there's something he learned in his master's program that could help me. And he also did tell me that he used to work in a psychiatric hospital in New York. So I was kind of hoping, with all of his experience and such, that he would give me a little bit better advice. But it was just very generic, and I just kept hoping that it would get better. But then the pandemic hit, and actually, let me take a little step back. Then there were times where he wouldn't like not show up. The office a little bit better at communicating that with me. So there was a lot of times that it would have to cancel the last minute, or the office contacted me and said, "Hey, we had to cancel. We see that he's not in office that day." which I don't understand how these schedule things work, by the way. Like, if they're not in office, why are you scheduling originally? But I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind doors there. But, um, but yeah, actually, I feel like I'm going to go all over the place, but I'll probably talk about this part later. Actually, that's not really relevant. Okay, so then the pandemic hit. And then I didn't, at the time, of course, all of us didn't know that it was going to last a year. Well, still going on right now. So I was like, I'll just wait a month or two, until I can see him in person, because I didn't like the idea of me having my therapy appointments in my apartment when I have roommates and such. Even though I know I could go in the car, but I just didn't want. I live in Florida. I would may have to use the air conditioning or like have my window open. I just didn't like the settings. I was willing to wait that couple of months, but no, I would say it's still going on. It's still virtual, so I thought, okay, whatever. I'll just get a new therapist. Oh no, I was trying to make an appointment with him, but I think he wasn't available for like a month and a half or something like that. So I was like, just send me up with somebody else. So they sent me up with this other person, and I really liked. I felt that she was actually listening to me, and she was actually trying to analyze, my childhood and my past and why I would get anxious and because bringing out here, my biggest issue, and this is going to probably turn into a therapy appointment here, but my biggest issue is that I fear not being successful. And that is one of the biggest things that I challenge with on a daily, that I feel like if I'm not constantly busy, if I'm not constantly achieving, then I'm going to be, on the street or something like that. It's a lot of anxious thoughts. It's just, I know it's stemming from something, and that is what I'm looking for. And I'm kind of hoping to find somebody who would help me, explore that. So I felt like we were actually making progress, and I really liked her a lot. But then it ended up having bad communication issues with the office and with her as well. I don't know if it was really on her fault, but basically it happened 3 times actually. So one time they canceled the day before because I guess she was sick or whatever, which is fine. You cancel 24 hours before, at least have the heads up. Second time, I was waiting for her, and I was 20 minutes into my therapy appointment, and still she has not showed up into the video call. So I hung up, and I called the office, and I said, what's going on? They're like, oh, we see she's having technical issues, so we'll have to reschedule. And I was like, okay. And then they said, okay, well, she'll be available in 3 weeks. And I'm like, of course, could I have to wait 3 weeks, even though it's, I missed my shot, but it's fine. So, I'm patient. I wait that 3 weeks, and it happens again. I'm 20 minutes in, nobody. I call the office, and I say, what's going on? Like, oh, sorry, she's not feeling well. And I'm like, and no one decided to inform me of this? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. We can go ahead and reschedule. And at the time, I was so mad. I said, listen, at this point, I was like, I'm on FMLA for work, so I use I go to therapy on my FMLA time. And since right now it was currently up and I was in the renewal period, I told the office that, hey, I don't want to make an appointment until I have my FMLA cleared, because I use those hours for my appointments. And they said, yeah, not a problem. Just let us know when that all clears, and then we can set up an appointment for you. And I said, okay, sure, awesome. And because let me also mention, a week before my appointment that she stood me up for, I spoke to the office about my, renewal of my FMLA paperwork, and I sent all the paperwork over to the right office, and then I spoke to, a couple days after, I spoke to my psychiatrist, which is going to be a whole second part of this episode, by the way, and this is going to be the fun one, by the way, just so keep tuned for that. He said that he was going to, he received the paperwork, and he signed it, and he sends it over to the office, whatever, for processing and such. That was at its last stages. So that was in my mind, that it was being taken care of prior to me being set up for that appointment. So when I told the lady on the phone that I wanted to wait until my FMLA got fully processed until I make the appointment, she said, okay, and the next day I get a call saying, hi, Justine, So we see that you're requesting FMLA paperwork. So we need to set you up with your therapist so she can, sign that paperwork. And I was like, excuse me? And well, I didn't say it like that. I wasn't being rude, obviously. But I just said, I don't understand. I was told the paperwork was already sent to her a week before our original appointment. And my psychiatrist confirmed that he received it too as well, and that it was at these last stage for processing. It's like, oh, I don't see that here, but we do need to make an appointment. I'm like, listen, I told the lady the day before, and I said, I'm not making an appointment until I'm cleared for my FMLA hours. I feel like this is not my fault. This has happened. You can see in the record this happened multiple times when it was out of my control. I just feel like you guys should have this taken care of. And eventually, a week later, after constantly arguing with the office, had to escalate it to a manager for a good week. I finally got taken care of. And then I have yet to set up the therapy. Wait, did I set the therapy appointment? Oh, wait, I haven't yet because I think every time I try to call, it's always like so busy. And then when I try to do it online, it wouldn't let me. But anyway, but I was still seeing my psychiatrist at the time for my medication, which is going to be for part 2. So get ready for this one. This is going to be a great story. Hi, y'all. I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. The best way for my podcast to grow is for you guys to share my podcast to your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, or a random person on the street, or whoever that had ears that can listen to audio. That is how we grow. Leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts is also very helpful as well. Lastly, you totally do not have to do this, but if you want to support my dream of being a content creator full time, you could donate as low as $1 through listener support that is linked in my podcast bio. Alrighty, I'm done here. Now let's continue the rest of the episode. Alrighty, so let's talk about my psychiatrist, the one that puts me on medication. So, I had an event that happened to me about a couple of days ago that is now it's going to see the light of day on this podcast. I'm still very bitter about it. But let's start from the beginning. So, I knew I had to be on medication because my brain doesn't like to function like other people's brains. So I got referred to the psychiatrist originally for anxiety. And so I went there and the guy didn't really introduce himself. It was kind of like I felt the energy and it was like kind of cold, but I didn't think too much of it. I was just like, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm hoping he knows his stuff, his chemicals, and knows what's gonna be safely going to my body. I just trusted that. I didn't really care at that time for his personality because I knew what he was really there for. So I was like, okay, ignore the fact that he was cold. And then basically he didn't really introduce himself. I think I said that already. Yeah, he didn't introduce himself. He just kind of just asked me questions. He just kept asking me a lot of close-ended questions. So I couldn't really talk and explain certain things because in his head I was like, that's for therapy, like shut up, like I don't you need to hear your sad life or whatever. But well, obviously he didn't say that, but that's like the vibe that I got from him. So I didn't like that, but I was like, whatever, it's fine. So then we, went all over the place, different medication. He kind of ignored a lot of things that I said, which again, I don't know. These were so many red flags, and I don't know why I kept going back to him because I'm dumb. There were so many things that I just felt like, I'm the kind of person where I believe the best in people, but after I tell you what happened to me a couple of days ago, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm glad you found, because it was like the last straw kind of thing for me. So we went on a bunch of different medication. He also, like I said, he diagnosed me with bipolar. He just did like a whole like questionnaire thing. And he's like, okay, you're bipolar, you need this. And then he's like, okay, we're gonna first put you on medication for mania and then we'll work on depression. I said, okay. And I'm gonna jump forward and say that I rather have been focused more on depression than mania because I struggle more with depression. And honestly, I'm not gonna say I like being manic because that's like the worst thing to say, but I like being manic because I'm productive. I know that sounded really bad. But anyway, so there was this, yeah, so basically I've been on lamotrigine. That's what it's called. And I kept getting all these like headaches and such, which I know it's a side effect, but I mean it's been a year and I'm still getting these side effects, which is really weird. So let's see. So actually, let's just skip all the way forward here. I wanted to try doing like, CBD and whatever because people tell me so many great things about it and how it's great for their anxiety, depression, and there's people who are bipolar that are on it and it's a natural medicine or whatever. So I was like, okay, like maybe I'll bring this up to my psychiatrist and see if I can get like a card or whatever, a medical card or whatever. So I brought it up to him. This was last week. And I said, like, hey, I've been hearing great things about CBD and like what you're like, am I able to get like a medical card through you? He's like, no, I can't do that because it's not FDA approved. And I said, okay, that's, like, I was like, okay, that's fine. Even though like I was hearing like they can, but whatever. I'm not going to argue it. Because I know there's other like special doctors out there for it. So I said, okay, that's fine. I said, but I do want to get off lamotrigine because I don't like how it's physically making me feel. And then also keep in mind, this was like about 10 minutes into our meeting. And in the beginning, he always like gives me a whole questionnaire, like how you feeling or whatever. And I said, yeah, I've been kind of depressed and, having a hard time getting out of bed or whatever, which is like pretty much like all the time, not all the time, but like I feel like I kind of screwed myself over because he always just gave me a 1 to 10. And I really honestly hate when they say scale it from 1 to 10 because I'm just like, I don't know what feels like what. Like, I don't know if I'm really like telling him correctly. Like, I don't know what the highest is supposed to feel like and the lowest is supposed to feel like. Well, the lowest well, technically the lowest is like feeling nothing, but what does it mean when it's the highest? You know what I mean? Like, how does the highest feel? I don't know. So, anyways, I should have just said different numbers or whatever because from there, he's a robot and he's like, oh, okay, so she answered 7, 6, 5. Here, that means we need to up her dose. I'm telling you, he treats me like he's like a freaking robot. And I'm like, how about you listen to me and how I'm feeling and not, choose of what you're going to do with my medication based off of, okay, she entered a 7 to here. This is it. Like, no, I am a human being and I want to talk, explain exactly how I'm feeling and such, not the stupid 1 to 10 BS. Anyway, so he was saying, okay, I'm going to prescribe you to go 25 milligrams higher. And I said, no, I just told you I want to get off it. He's like, well, that's not what I recommend. And I said, okay, but I understand you don't recommend that, but I'm the patient. Don't I have a choice of being on the medication or not being on the medication? And then he said, yeah, you absolutely have that choice. And I said, but you're going to prescribe me more. He's like, yeah, because that's what I recommend. And I said, okay, but I said, but in a way, I said, listen, I know you're not forcing me to take the medication, but you're not, but I told you that I don't want to do it and you're prescribing it to me. He's like, well, you don't have to take it. And I said, okay, I want to go off it. So in order for me to go off it, you have to prescribe me something, lower so I can safely get off it. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I said, why? He said, because I don't recommend it. And I said, okay, but if I know I don't have to, move forward with treatment, but if I don't get off safely, I can end up in the hospital. And you very well know that I can end up in the hospital. And he's like, I'm not sick. He's like, Justine, I'm not arguing with you. I had to go and talk to another patient. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I have a problem, right? I told him, I'm like, there's a big issue right now between me and you are saying you have to go see another patient. We are 18 minutes into our session. And without insurance, this session costs almost $300. Are you freaking kidding me? If I didn't have insurance, I'm paying $300 to talk to you, and when things get tough after 18 minutes, you lie and you have to go see another patient? No. So that's just me having beef with him. But man, I want to call him out so bad, but I just don't know if it's legal or not. But anyway, so where was I? Oh yeah. So I just said, listen, I'm not trying to argue with you, but like I'm trying to have this conversation with you. You're saying that you're not forcing me to take this medication, but you're not letting me get off it safely. Because I can't just go 200 to 0 cold turkey because that is going to give me a seizure and that's going to put me in the hospital. And then he just he wasn't answering. He just kept saying, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm like, this is not supposed to be an argument. I'm actually freaking concerned about my health right now that you clearly do not give a fuck. I'm getting a little angry right now because it fucking pisses me off that this is what's happening right now in the mental health industry, and it's fucked up. It's really fucking fucked up. So in my head, I'm just like, I even said to him, like, is this legal what you're doing right now? He's like, yes, it is legal because this is my medical opinion and this is what I recommend. And I'm like, okay, putting this to the side, you very well know that I can be in the hospital and get a seizure and possibly die if I go cold turkey, right? And he said, well, I don't recommend going off it. And I'm like, well, I feel like I have my rights to. He's like, yeah, you're right. You do have your rights. I'm not saying you have to take it. And I'm like, so if you're listening and you're kind of hearing what he's doing right now, he's technically not doing anything illegal. Because I think the law is that the patient does not have to choose to move forward with a treatment, and the doctor has its rights to do what he feels is best for the patient. But what he's doing is that he has no morals or ethics to it. This is an ethic issue. Is that he's doing it? He's technicality on paper, doing things by the book, and not going against the law. But when it comes to caring about your freaking patient, he is not caring about his patient. That's what the issue is. So I literally blew up. I was like crying on the call with him. I've never had a mental. He doesn't have a reason to keep me on medication. I'm not out here saying I want to jump off a bridge and kill myself or having mental breakdowns on the calls or anything like that. The only time I had a mental breakdown was when he was doing this to me. So tell me, aren't I paying this money to get help when this guy's actually triggering mental breakdowns? Like, that's a freaking issue. He's triggering breakdowns. So I literally said to him, I was like, listen, I'm in the hospital, I'm fucking suing you. And I hung up the phone. Well, I didn't say fucking because I'm very angry. I have some type of emotional intelligence, and I wouldn't go tell him to go fuck himself, even though I really wanted to. So I called the office. I'm trying to keep my cool because, it's not the office's fault that this guy's a dick. And I said, hey, I'm having issues with Dr. whatever, and I need to talk to somebody else. It's urgent. And then he's like, okay, yeah, no, not a problem. Let's go find you somebody. He's like, oh, do you want to take a look at our website and see like who you want to choose from? And I was like, no. Just give me somebody who is the next available. Like, I don't know who these people are. I guess it's just me kind of like doing a random like freaking Russian roulette bullshit or whatever. And so anyway, so they said, okay, we'll set you up with this person. And they called me back to like, wait, actually, no, they didn't. They said, oh, wait, so we actually can't do it today because the insurance. And I said, okay, no, I understand that. Like, I get it. It does look a little weird with the insurance company. I said, can I do it like tomorrow? They're like, okay, let me double check. Like, okay, yeah, you can do it tomorrow. I'm like, cool. So they set me up with a lady, and I spoke to her, and I told the whole story. And she did think it was kind of weird that he wasn't going by my wishes. That if a patient thinks that they don't want to be on this medication, then they don't want to be on the medication. So she seems really nice, and I'm currently in treatment with her. So we'll see how that goes. And I still have to find another therapist. So this is where I am right now. What day is it? It is March 28th. I probably will do a follow-up episode down the road. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed me being very angry at the end of this episode. But I was just, getting my emotion out. Getting it all out. And just telling people that this is really happening and that it does need to get better. We need more mental health professionals. We need better mental health professionals who actually freaking care about their patients. Like, that's an issue, and I feel like nobody talks about it. Is that there's so many people out there who are in this industry and don't care. And it's like, I get it, you have a lot of people, but this is a very sensitive not topic, but like it can be dangerous if you say the wrong thing, All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys listening to my rant and being my therapist pretty much. And if you enjoy this podcast and want to follow me on our social media, I will have all my links in the episode description if you want to, see who I am. on the other parts of the internet or want to chat or whatever. If you also want to be a guest on Mentally a Badass, I do have a link in my Instagram bio for you to go to. It's a Google form if you want to fill it out and be a guest on this podcast. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.